And with that, Monica, please come on up. Let me clear this out of your way.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Farhan. And I have to say good afternoon because it's past 12 now. I think we met before, or I have already met most of you. But to the ones who don't know me, I'm Monica Grayley, the spokesperson to the President of the General Assembly, Ms. María Fernanda Espinosa. And I am very happy to serve in this capacity and very proud to serve to the presidency of the first woman from Latin America and the Caribbean to take this post in the history of the UN. And I look forward to working with all of you in the next months to come. I also would like to take this opportunity, if you allow me, very briefly to thank my predecessor and colleague, Brandon Varma, who did a great job and was very helpful to us during the transition period. So many thanks to Brandon. Somebody asked about my background. I have been working for the UN for over 12 years. Time flies. And I have been working in international journalism across all platforms for almost 3 decades, so it's been a while. So I know very well, and that I would like to tell you this afternoon, what it means to be under time pressure, what it means to be to have to rush to finish a story, a deadline, for the top of the hour for many of us, to come with the best headline, the best top line. So I will keep that in mind when dealing with your requests. And speaking about deadlines, we all know that there will be a briefing here soon by His Excellency, the Ambassador of Bolivia, coming soon for a press conference, as we know, on the presidency of the Security Council for this month of October. So I would like to invite you then, not to bore you with details, to visit our website. I don't know if everybody's aware. It is the PGA, first of all, UN.org/PGA/73. And our Twitter for the PGA president is UN_PGA. So if you can take a look and retweet us. So on the agenda of the President of the General Assembly today, Ms. María Fernanda Espinosa will have a meeting with the President of the Security Council for the month of October, His Excellency Ambassador Sacha Sergio Llorenty Soliz. She also granted an interview about an hour ago to the Press Trust of India in her office. Yesterday, President Espinosa had the opportunity to unveil the new stamps for the International Day of Non-Violence. The 3 definitive stamps by the United Nations Postal Administration featured the knotted gun sculpture, very well known from all of us, officially known as the non-violence sculpture at the entrance. So she also took part yesterday in the event held at the ECOSOC chamber on the Day of Non-Violence, and in her speech on the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi, she said, and I quote, "As we move into the 730th session, I commit to working with the General Assembly and its related committees in ways that reflect Gandhi's view of change." And now it's a quote by Gandhi. "You must be the change you want to see in the world." So you remember as well, perhaps, that Ms. María Fernanda Espinosa presided over the last high-level plenary meeting on the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit at the GA Hall. And initially, this event was for 1 day only, but because we received a large number of interests by speakers, it was extended to another day and finished yesterday, the 1st of October. About 150 speakers took the floor to honor the legacy of President Nelson Mandela. And during the opening of the summit on 24th of September, it looks like a while now, President Espinosa said that Mandela was always guided by the principles underpinning the United Nations. He represented the values of peace, solidarity, cooperation, and respect for all human beings, regardless of their race, political views, or religious beliefs. You will recall that the GA adopted a strong political declaration at the Nelson Mandela Peace Summit, strengthening the role of the United Nations. The declaration also acknowledged Mr. Mandela's contribution to the struggle for democracy internationally and the promotion of a culture of peace throughout the world. President María Fernanda Espinosa firmly believes that there is a possibility to defend national interests and sovereignty at the same time that countries engage with collective action and multilateralism. If you are interested in our 7 priorities, I think you all know them now, but you can also go to our website. And to finalize this point, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a historic political declaration also for the Nelson Mandela Decade of Peace, and calling on world leaders to redouble efforts to pursue international peace and security, development, and human rights. And the decade will start 2019 and finish in 2028. I think that's all for me. Do you have any questions? Evelyn.
Thank you. Do you have up-to-date numbers of who attended the general debate?
Mm-hmm.
And the Mandela Resolution on peace. This is the House of Peace.
Mm-hmm.
What does this resolution add to what the UN's main purpose is supposed to be anyway?
Okay. So first of all, I think that on the numbers, we have the figures, and we are still working on the final figures, as we said. But we had 193, all 193 member states took the floor. And in total, there were 196 speakers because permanent observers also spoke. I think that we have this figure for the number of correspondents who were accredited or requested the accreditation, 3,543, so which was a record number this year, and over 10,000 delegates came to the United Nations last week during the high-level week. Going back to your question, Evelyn, on the declaration, I think it has been, I would say, made clear that exactly as you say, it's a house of peace, and that we are interested in making, all countries together in declaring that world leaders will redouble efforts to pursue international peace and security, strengthening, of course, multilateralism, development, and human rights. And I think this is, it's going to be a decade starting next year. And we expect events and other activities to reinforce this proposal, this now resolution that was adopted, this declaration. I would correct, declaration. Yes, that's, thank you for your question. Yes, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and your outlets, that would help me to memorize, but I know you.
Thank you. My name is Abadi. I'm with the dossier paper.
Yes.
I would like to ask you the same question I asked for Han. What does the President of the General Assembly would like the musicians, the poets, the artists, the youth to do in order to revive the spirit of the United Nations?
Well, our theme for this year is making the United Nations relevant to all people. And this is a president who wants to bring the UN closer to people, but also the people closer to the UN. And of course, in order to achieve that, we need the help of everybody and be as inclusive as possible, include everybody. I mean, the young people, as it was in the declaration, the probably less younger people or less young people, that everybody would join in really reinforcing the idea that this is a house of the people. This is when she calls the General Assembly, the Parliament of Humanity, she really means it. Everybody should be brought to the table, and that's what she's trying her presidency with member states to do for this year.
Does it mean that the President would like the UN to be opened more to the outside world?
I think in her 7 priorities for this presidency that she has stated that very, very clear. And it's also, she said that, I don't know if you're here, probably not in the press conference that we had about 2 days ago. And we showed a video by a lady from India that she met, and she felt very inspired by the story of this lady, a tuberculosis survivor, And one of the things that she said, that she, in her capacity as president of the General Assembly, but all politicians and everybody, leaders, should listen more. And I think this is a president that will listen more, will be listening, but also to you and to anyone who would like to make a contribution. Yes, thank you for your question. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Amit Oj, with the Dag Hammarskjöld Journalism Fellowship. I'm a journalist from India with NDTV. Just a quick question I asked earlier also, but I just thought maybe you could enlighten me. How is it that the president actually plans to have one vision and one efficient functioning when you have two divergent views, one that came from the Secretary General and one that came from the President of the United States, Donald Trump? How is it that the UN can actually function in one direction?
Well, about 2 days ago, I think she was asked about the same, more or less the same question in this room, and the President, Maria Fernanda Espinosa, believes that this is a space for dialogue, that the strength of the General Assembly is exactly being this hall where everybody, doesn't matter if you're a big country or a small country, demographics, but everybody has one button to vote, the same microphone to speak, and everybody is entitled to be listened to be heard, and to also exercise its right of voting. So her vision is very clear. She firmly believes in the strengthening of multilateralism, and that member states shall sit down and discuss with each other, and in the interest of the General Assembly and the interest of humanity, in the interest of cooperation, but with these very important points of strengthening the multilateralism, which is the strength or the force of this organization. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you too, Hamid, afterwards. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Jordan Dagams. I'm from Jordan News Agency and Jordan Report. President of General Assembly, they are changed every year, unlike the SG. And then within the year, they either have to do something good or they will be forgotten. In previous few decades ago, there was one president that was good, his name Charles Malik from Lebanon, who helped the Declaration of Human Rights. 2 years ago, we had President of General Assembly who did something very unique, which nobody have done, that he said the selection of SG has to be heard by delegates, by all countries in the world, and then he did some agreement with Security Council. Then was President of Security Council of the USA, so because of power, so his wish was accommodated, and then all running for the President of Security of the SG office, actually, they were heard by the General Assembly delegates in all countries. What Ms.
Maria Fernanda Espinosa.
Maria, what in her mind, I mean, how she can be remembered? I saw her 7 priorities, which is it's normal. Everybody can say them. Any ambassador can say that. What she can do, something unique in the United Nations that we can remember as journalists, remember her next year, in 10 years, 20 years. She has a long life, I hope, and thank you.
No, thank you very much for your question. I mean, you touched on a very important point, which is the 7 priorities. And it's actually, when we say 7, it's not a number out of the blue. It's actually one priority for every day of the week. So we are working round the clock, yeah? And as you said, gender equality is the priority, the first priority, migration and refugees, decent work, environmental action, persons with disabilities, youth, peace and security, and again, the role of youth is extremely important in this equation, but also revitalization of the United Nations, which is a very important point. And if you think that if you get together to think of these priorities, they are cross-cutting. Yeah, when you talk about gender equality, of course, the migration refugees priority touches gender equality, decent work with youth, and avoiding, giving opportunities to youth, to young people, that they can develop their potential in life. This is extremely important. Yeah, and not be probably attracted by radicalism or other activities that will harm them and also harm societies entirely. There is something interesting because this president, I don't know if you're aware, is a poet as well. And she likes words. She's a linguist, which is very interesting. And she said that she doesn't want, the President Espinosa would like us, in order to better communicate with everybody and bring the UN closer to people and the people closer to the UN, she firmly believes that we should, avoid acronyms so that we make ourselves understandable to other people. But she said she couldn't resist to create an acronym herself for her presidency only. So this is for the year. And it's DARE. And DARE stands for delivery, accountability, relevance, and efficiency. So I think this is already a very good starting point for this year. And we're going to be busy. It's one priority per day because the problems of the world, this is very seriously, they don't stop on Friday. They continue. And so will we, with your help, of course. Thank you. Abdul Hamid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please continue calling me Hamid.
Yeah, okay. If you allow me, that's it.
Yeah,
Hamid.
please.
Okay.
In his speech to the GA, President Trump said, "I don't believe in globalism, I believe in patriotism." Mm-hmm. When he spoke the next day at the Security Council, he appealed to member states sitting in the council to continue with their sanctions on North Korea. And he also appealed with them to also observe sanctions on Iran. So in one hand, he doesn't believe in globalism, but on the other, he wants to use this fora in the GA and in the Security Council to continue with global action against North Korea or global action against. Isn't that a practice or an exercise of hypocrisy? Or how does the PGA see that double standard?
Hamid, and I can call you Hamid because for the ones who don't know, we were colleagues. When I joined the United Nations, at that time United Nations Radio, now it's United Nations UN News, Hamid was the head of Arabic and I was the head of the Portuguese. So as you know, I've been in this job for, a week or something, and I think it's very wise to take my lead from my boss. And she said herself, it's not up to her to comment on the 196 now speeches that we know that were held by member states and observers. So, and I will leave it at that. But I also would say that she firmly believes that having your national interests guaranteed with your sovereignty doesn't exclude, doesn't impede countries to work together and to have take collective actions and to strengthen multilateralism. I think that's about it. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Do you have your mic? Sorry, because I can't from here. And I think I probably need a step here because I'm too short. Yes, go ahead.
Hi. There is so much talk about gender equality, women's rights, protection from abuse, and I have sat in on conference after conference where these issues are raised. Mm-hmm. It was only once that, and in this Michelle Bachelet supported me very much, it was protecting women from abuse. There is only one means by which a woman can be protected, and that is financial independence. Is Maria Espinosa, going to raise this issue at all? I suspect it probably will make a number of people uncomfortable, but without financial independence, none of the other protections has any effectiveness. A woman who's financially independent can walk out of an abusive relationship. Granted, there are psychological pressures that might make it more difficult, but she can do it. And she can send her children to school, regardless of a patriarchal system. She can do whatever she wants. Will this be a priority?
Yes, I would like to read to you our gender equality topic priority in this case, and the topic related to the priority, gender equality. The GA should play its role promoting the empowerment of women, making it clear that life is better for everyone when all people have equal access to economic, social, and political life in their societies. So I think this angle that you just brought up is included here. And as a matter of fact, President María Fernanda Espinosa has been in active talks with UN Women and other parts as well in order to go the extra mile on this. This is a person who has been advocating for gender even before it was famous or trendy, yeah? She was the defense minister of her own country. And she has been operating in what we call a male, probably dominated environment, and has been very clear on her beliefs and on her agenda. So, yeah, I take your points, and I think it's here in the topic related to the priority. Rhonda.
Yes, good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes.
Yes, on the press conference we had with Maria Fernandez
Yes.
Espinosa, I raised the question of that the General Assembly had said that the UN command should be dealt with. I have the date and the number.
Oh,
of
thank
that.
you. Yes.
And that the date was November 1975. The resolution was 3390XXXB, and it was passed by the General Assembly calling for negotiation between the relevant parties so that the U.S. would no longer use the misleading designation UN command to represent itself when it was basically talking about the U.S. government. So I hope that will get looked into, because they are using that in a way to make more difficult the inter-Korean negotiations that are going on. Thank you.
Rhonda, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. In fact, you remember she was saying that she would like to look into this herself. So if you actually could give me the document afterwards, I would be very grateful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the priorities of the president, and you repeated it today, is to bring the UN close to the people and the people close to the UN. How does she anticipate doing that in the practical terms?
How she anticipates doing that what? Sorry?
How does he propose to bring people closer to the UN in practice?
Oh, in practice, yes, of course. Well, first of all, I think we are now in a very privileged position that we more and more we are seeing here at the headquarters, but also in other parts of the United Nations, other headquarters, the presence of young people, the presence of civil society, the presence of non-governmental organizations. So the contact with people is more and more frequent. But also one of the things that probably if you go on the internet, you'll definitely find out. But even before being sworn in her post, we had a session with the United Nations information centers around the world. As we know, there are more than 50 in all continents. And one of our proposals of working together is to listening directly to people in this, through these information centers, and also listening to their expectations, the ways they want to cooperate. But we have a direct contact. Nowadays, thanks to social media and other channels, we have immediate feedback, and we are taking that very seriously. She herself, she listens and she reads what is being said. And there have been several activities that we are planning, and I can't give you all the activities right now, but for instance, one that she announced already is a big campaign this year. When I say this year, it's the year that the presidency will last, till next September, against plastic pollution. And this is an opportunity for everybody, but everybody, including ourselves here, to take part. But there is already a great, I would say, goodwill from normal citizens to join us in that. The plastic pollution is one of the activities, but there are others. Yes.
Just follow up on that question.
Of course.
Please, if I may. The civil society says, yes, we like to be listened to, but they also say we like to participate. How can that be accommodated? Is it possible?
I am sure that when you start a dialogue, when you say a dialogue, it's not a monologue, yeah? So a dialogue is basically a two-way road. And I think this is a president who is ready and prepared to listen. And she, as I said, has started doing that even before she was sworn in, and is her firm decision to continue to do so. And by the way, on that note, thank you for that question. Some of you have asked about other press conferences, because I think we had some colleagues who would like to come to a second one. We still don't have the date, but if there is any important issue, or we will try to organize a stakeout. So just let me know also what you need from us, because I think this is a working relationship, yeah? A journalist doesn't stop to be a journalist if the person becomes a spokesperson or not. We are thinking of news, we are thinking of deadlines, and we are here to work together with you. Thank you very much, everybody. I see you tomorrow. Yes? Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.